This time, I will introduce the history of the ruins of Nakijin Castle in Okinawa Prefecture, Japan, and the scenery of walking around the castle ruins. Let's take a look. In the Gusuku period in Okinawa, there was no such thing as a king, and small villages were scattered. During this period, people called Aji appeared, and each of them ruled a small village separately. There is a tradition that Nakijin Castle was built between the 12th and 13th centuries. In Okinawa, this era is the middle of the Gusuku period, and on the mainland, it is the Heian period to the Kamakura period. Nakijin Castle was not built in this place from the beginning, but started about 6 kilometers away from the current location. The place is called Sina Castle, and there is a tradition that it was moved to its current location due to a lack of water. The construction of these castles was carried out by the Aji, who ruled this area. There are still stone walls and other structures, but they have not been excavated or maintained, so they are not suitable for exploration. After that, a person who claimed to be the Lord of the World, who led Aji appeared, and ruled, north of the mountain, centered on Nakijin. At this time, trade with China was flourishing, and it is recorded in the Ming dynasty's records of the Ming dynasty. The records record the names of the three kings, Hani Ji, Min, and Han Anchi. First, the emissaries of the king of the Chosen sent messengers to the Ming dynasty, and then the kings of the Hokusen and Nansen also sent emissaries to the Ming dynasty. The period around that time is called the Sanzan period, and it transitions from the Gusuku period to the Sanzan period and the First Ryukyu kingdom. It is said that the reason why it came to be called the Three Mountains period is that the messengers who came to pay tribute to the Ming dynasty were recorded as the messengers of the King of the Three Mountains. By the way, in ancient China, islands and countries were sometimes called mountains. Therefore, it can be seen that at this point, the Ming dynasty recognized each of the three mountains as a country or an entity of the same size as a country. By that time, there were many castles in various parts of Okinawa. Castles at this time are different from ordinary castles and often refer to places where festivals and prayers are held. It is thought that Nakijin Castle was the first castle to be called a castle, and I think that people who saw it for the first time at that time were overwhelmed. It is said that Nakijin Castle was built around the 12th century, but it is Katsurin Castle that is said to be the oldest castle today. The basis for this is the excavated materials and the contents recorded in Chinese historical documents. It is recorded that the first emissary of the Ming dynasty visited Chuzan, and then the emissary of King Chuzan first came to the Ming. Later, the north and south also sent emissaries to the Ming dynasty, and this order seems to have influenced the perception of the Ming dynasty. There is also the idea of estimating the age from the masonry method of the city wall, but there is a problem with that method. The masonry of the city wall is classified into wild noodle stacking, cloth stacking, and partner stacking. The appearance varies greatly depending on how the stones are laid, and the area that looks the oldest is the wild noodle stacking. However, since the amount of stone in Okinawa is originally small, it is difficult to estimate the age by the method of stacking. Moreover, the materials for carbon dating themselves were burned by the war and do not exist. Therefore, in order to estimate the age, Chinese literature is an important estimation material. However, legend has it that the castle existed in an era before mythology, and it is said that it was between the 12th and 13th centuries. I can't ignore those verbal traditions either. Although there is no evidence to identify the era, it cannot be ruled out that the facts are buried in the lore of each region. In past excavations, many valuable relics have been discovered from present-day Urazo to Chaden. Among them, bones later called Minato-gawa Genjin, and stone tablets were discovered. I think there is something to do with the fact that the area north of Urazo was Hokusen's sphere of influence during the Sanzan period. What happened in the pre-mythical era? The interest is endless. I hope that materials that can identify the era will be unearthed in the future. Nakijin Castle was destroyed in 1416 by the Chusan army led by Shohashi. Then, when Nakijin Castle fell, Shohashi unified the three mountains and established the first Ryukyu kingdom. However, even after that, Nakijin continued to play a role as a center of overseas trade and contributed to the development of the region. The Nakijin Castle Ruins History and Culture Center has a wealth of exhibits about excavations and the history of the village. The way people live culture, and their development is displayed in an easy-to-understand manner. In addition to the way people live, the facility also showcases the religious views of the area. There are many places of worship called Utaki in various parts of Okinawa, and the religion centered on Utaki has taken root among the people. Among them, Sifa Utaki is the central place of worship, which was previously a sacred place where men were prohibited and managed by a priestess. It is now a popular tourist spot where anyone can worship. In addition, it is also introduced how Kauri Island, which became famous for hard rock, was used. In addition, Kauri Island is close to the ruins of Nakijin Castle and has a parking lot, so please stop by. When you come to the Nakijin Castle ruins, be sure to take a look at the adjacent History and Culture Center. ruin of Nakijin Castle, Kaori Island, and Shina Castle are close to each other, so if you are interested, why not stop by? Now, the question is the oldest castle in Okinawa Katsurin Castle or Nakijin Castle? Looking at the materials that remain today, it must be said that Katsurin Castle is the oldest, but the question remains. Personally, my impression after seeing both the tradition and the actual situation is that Nakijin Castle is the oldest. This is just my personal opinion. There is no doubt that there was a power that dominated the region, at least in mythological times. According to China's Gen history, the Gen sent troops to the unsubjugated Ryukyus in 1291 and 1296. However, it is recorded that both times Gen was repulsed and withdrew with more than 130 prisoners. It shows that Ryukyu at that time had enough military strength to deal with and defeat the original soldiers. It is of great significance that Ryukyu was written in this record as Ryukyu. This is because it shows the fact that Ryukyu was already the name of the country at that time. If so, where was the capital and the center of politics at that time? The mystery only deepens. The above is the consideration of the oldest castle in Okinawa this time. am deeply moved to think that people in the past also looked at this beautiful scenery. I would like to continue to introduce the history of Okinawa based on the materials I have collected. And the topic that I am most interested in right now is the theory that the origin of Japan people is Okinawan. It seems that various things are becoming clear due to the evolution of DNA analysis, and this theory seems to have been born from there. This information still needs to be verified, so I will wait for additional information. If you are interested in this video, please take this opportunity to subscribe to the channel. See you again.